Good morning and welcome to the Dumpster Fire 3.1 here on AIM Student Radio, the way radio should be. I'm Josh. Jeff should be in momentarily here for you folks on this crazy April 27th. I kept thinking today was the 28th, but no. We are coming down to the wire. Graduation a little over 2 weeks away. I can't wait. It's going to be a special moment. I'm graduating again. My brother's graduating. A lot of my friends are graduating. It's going to be incredible this time. Looks like more of my family's going to be out here for the graduation. It's been a ride, but don't worry, it ain't the end of this dumpster fire. I plan on being back in the summer and in the fall. I'm pretty much just going to take every single radio course that Ames has to offer. And then from there, we'll see where it goes. I don't know where the future holds. It is a solemn day, especially for us 90s kids. About 45 minutes ago now, the announcement came out. Jerry Springer has passed away. That show, for so many of us kids just in the 90s or the early 2000s, if we had a sick day from school, we were probably watching Jerry Springer. That show simply just cannot exist in today's environment. It is so absurd. It was so over the top. Like, how do I say this? You didn't watch it for a thought-provoking discussion. You watched it to see people arguing at each other and people start duking it out. And just some of the absurdities, like marrying a horse or someone hooking up with their ex's sister. Just utter absurdity is what this show was. And it was a car crash. It was car crash television. You couldn't not watch. It was just so absurd. And even Jerry Springer himself did numerous interviews where he even knew that his show was ridiculous. It's, like I said, it is a sad day for us 90s kids. R.I.P. Jerry. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for the memories. And I will actually go ahead and just let it get back to the music here. Jeff should be in momentarily. We got a great show planned here for you all. Stay tuned. This is The Dumpster Fire on AIM Student Radio, the way radio should be. And welcome back to The Dumpster Fire 3.1 here on AIM Student Radio, the way radio should be. I'm Josh, still just hanging in here. Jeff should still be in momentarily. I haven't heard anything otherwise. But other than that, let's go ahead and get a quick check here of your weather. Right now in Fort Lupton, we are looking at 62 degrees, a high of 67, a low of 36, sunny skies, no wind. There in Loveland, we are looking at 60 degrees, a high of 67, a low of 37, sunny skies, wind gusts of a whopping 5 miles per hour. In Windsor, we are looking at 63 degrees, a high of 68, a low of 37, sunny skies, wind gusts of up to 2 miles per hour. And currently on the home campus of Greeley, we are looking at 66 degrees, a high of 67, a low of 36, sunny skies, wind gusts of up to 11 miles per hour. Ooh, it's going to be a little bit windy out here today, but that's okay. It's been still just kind of a crazy week. Right now on our previous segment, I did go ahead and mention the passing of Jerry Springer. We're going to see what ends up happening after this. Obviously, tributes already pouring in all across social media. I mean, even I had to go back right now before I got in here into the booth, and I watched a couple of old clips just to remember the absurdity that was the Jerry Springer show. And also, too, just that wave of daytime television. Some of the shows are still going, I believe. Maury, I know, is still on the air. But also, we had Steve Wilkos got his own show. He was one of the security guards on Jerry Springer. And these shows, they were just, how do I say this? You watched them to get a laugh. That was the whole point. They weren't, how do I say this? They weren't there for thought-provoking discussions. They were there to make you laugh, to make you be like, oh, these people are ridiculous. Honestly, I do wish, I know some people may say, oh, that was a product of the 90s, and maybe in some ways it very well was the 90s, the early 2000s, the era of car crash television. But sometimes we need a little bit of that, just a little bit of just pure entertainment for the sake of entertainment. Nowadays, so many there's at least, and this is just me, just moi, sometimes there's just a little too much, not seriousness, but everything has to have a story. Everything has to have some kind of motive. You know, it's like, when was, like, I'm a movie buff. As much as I like, you know, your award-winning, thought-provoking films, I also just like movies where I just want to be entertained. I've given an example before, like the Fast and Furious movies. I know what they are. I go and watch them because they're absurd, because I want to see people driving really nice cars, blowing stuff up, fighting, and you gotta hear a Vin Diesel line about family. I know what these movies are. I'm still gonna go watch them because I just want to be entertained. I just want to see what kind of absurdity they come with next. I mean, in the last one, they shot a car into space. What are they gonna do next? I don't know. The next one hasn't come out yet. It doesn't come out for a couple more weeks. Or even like Cocaine Bear. Like, that's just for absurdity. Yes, it was based on a real story, but just the whole premise of it is absurd. A bear that consumed cocaine. That was the whole thing. Like, you don't need, as much as I like, you know, your thought-provoking movies like Tar or, you know, anything like that. It's, sometimes we just need movies just to be entertained, to be like, okay, I want to watch this funny movie or this movie that has a lot of action in it. So we can all have just a little bit of fun. And that's what the Jerry Springer Show was. It was fun. It was just so absurd you couldn't look away. So that's my whole thing for right now. Just, we all just need to have a little bit more fun sometimes. I know that the world can get a little crazy sometimes, you know, when you have talking heads on televisions trying to just tell you day in, day out, when you have your 24-hour news channels, and yes, they serve their purpose, but at the same time, I don't want to hear people talking, especially if you have like a late night opinionated newscast. Like, that's not my thing. I don't watch them. They kind of annoy me. And this is just me. When I go to check the news, I look at the weather, I see if anything interesting happened, and that's it. And then I tune out. You know, if I need to know about something, then I will. I do have a news app on my phone, and it tells me if something big happened. But if not, then okay, cool. You know, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of having a talking head trying to tell me how to think with headlines that are written to make you react a certain way. Just give it to me as is. It's like, did a car crash happen? Okay. Did something tragic happen? Okay. I don't need some kind of politically biased spin on it. Just tell me what happened. That's it. But that's just me. And this rant has gone kind of all over the place, but it is a dumpster fire. And now I'll go ahead and kick it back to the music here on AIM Student Radio, the way radio should be. And welcome back to the Dumpster Fire 3.1 here on AIM Student Radio, the way radio should be. I'm Josh, still here by me solo mio. But that's okay. It's okay. Video games. I know. I could have done that segue better, but that's okay. Back in the days, and I know I've mentioned this before, back in the days where internet access was nowhere near as widespread and speeds were nowhere near as fast as they are now, for a game to be released, it had to be ready to go. You couldn't send out patches to fix a game over the internet. If you had a PlayStation 1 game, a PlayStation 2 game, a Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, whatever you call it, up until about the PS3 and the 360, when internet access became much more widespread and much more available, and just about anybody could get connected to the internet and download patches, you didn't have such luck back then. Your game had to work. When you shipped it, there was no, we'll release a day one patch to try to fix the game. No, it had to be done. It had to be ready to go. And if it wasn't, you were going to get your reviews were going to be in the toilet. Why? Because it's like, oh, this game's a buggy mess. It doesn't work. Why is it that it's now so commonplace, this culture of massive day one patches and games that barely work? Why has it become so commonplace and just so accepted that a game comes out, we buy it the first day, and for a lot of these major releases as of late, it's like, oh yeah, you can buy it day one. However, you're going to have to wait maybe upwards of a couple of months for us to finish patching the game so that it actually works. And it's driving me nuts. And we have had some very glaring examples of that recently, just into the holiday season going into now. The Callisto Protocol had all the hype in the world. Came out, buggy mess. They had to patch the life out of that game. They're still probably releasing patches to it now. I bought it. I haven't installed it. I'm waiting for them to finish patching it up. The PC port of The Last of Us Part 1. The PS5 port, nearly flawless. Naughty Dog has a thing. If they release a game, it performs flawlessly. That's just part of their trademark. They'll take as long as they need to release the game to make sure it works the way that it should. The PC port wasn't handled by Naughty Dog themselves. It was handled by a different studio. Still a buggy mess. I pre-ordered this thing on Steam so that way I can have it and be like, oh, I can play it on my PC now too. Awesome. Still not patched up. I still haven't installed it yet. I'm going to wait until it's relatively in a good state to play it. And now we are hearing reports, and these are alleged. The PC port of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, on top of being a monstrously huge download for a single player game, looking at about 155 gigs the last time I checked. It could have changed. It is, as of right now, a buggy mess. Top of the line PCs are having issues running this game. These graphics cards that are in some of these PCs now cost more than I make in a month. And they're having issues running this game. Allegedly, all versions of the game are quite buggy at the moment. The PC port allegedly is right now the worst performing of the bunch. This kind of bums me out. I was thinking about buying the game this weekend, even though I just bought more video games this past weekend. What can I say? I like video games. Why does this keep happening? Am I the only one that's frustrated about this? That I go and buy a game, I'm hyped for this game, but I can't play it for 2 months because they got to fix it. And yes, I know how it is. We wait for a game, it gets delayed, we get frustrated. And still, even with these delays, why are so many of these games coming out in just such cruddy states upon launch? Even with all the delays. Why are we accepting this? Why can't we just collectively just go and say, hi? Why can't we just go and say to these developers, hey, take all the time you need. Make sure this game comes out and it works. Because I'll tell you right now, when Jedi Survivor comes out, it comes out tomorrow? I'm going to wait until they fix this thing to install it. I have Callisto Protocol. I still haven't installed it. I have The Last of Us Part 1. Still haven't installed it. I'm just waiting for them to patch up the game and then I can go in and play it. Because also, too, another thing that drives me nuts is you take an old PS2 game. You don't play it for a couple months. That's fine. You pull the disc out of the case, stick it in your PS2. Beautiful. Runs like a dream. Nowadays, if I play a game, let's say Call of Duty, or heck, even some single player games, heck, even like the PC or the PS5 port, my apologies there, of Last of Us. Let's say I don't play it for a month. You know, I jump onto another game for a while and then I think, okay, I'm going to circle back. I go to my shelf. I pull the game out of its case. I put it in my PS5. Update! Same thing with Call of Duty. If I don't play Call of Duty for like 2 weeks, and this is on Cold War, this game is about to be 3 years old. Let's say I don't play it for a month, and this will happen on occasion. I'll get sucked up into another game, and I'll be like, okay, I'll make my way back to Call of Duty. Maybe I want to play a couple matches online on Nuketown. All right? I go in, I take the disc out, I put it in my PS5. Massive update. I can't be the only one that gets driven just a little bit insane by this. Something really needs to change here. And yes, I know a lot of games have been delayed, and yes, the delays are frustrating, and they can be costly. But if you ask me, it's worth it to prevent that frustration on day one when you buy a game and you can't play it for 2 months because they got to fix it. Right? Anywho's, I've been ranting for a while. I'm going to go ahead and just let it get back to the music here on AIM Student Radio. Up next, we have Be Somebody by Steve Aoki and Nicky Romero, apparently. Don't worry, we'll get some different music in here soon. And welcome back to the Dumpster Fire 3.1 here on AIM Student Radio, the way radio should be. I'm Josh. That was an acoustic rendition of Animal by Neon Trees. I gotta say, I am a big fan of the original song, but that acoustic cover kind of scratches a certain part of my brain. I really do enjoy it. May have to listen to more Neon Trees. Whew, that was a thing for a while. But anywho's, that about does it here for me today on the Dumpster Fire 3.1. We'll see you all back here next Tuesday. You know how it is. Starts at 10 a.m. It is a Dumpster Fire. We do plan on having a great show here for you next week. We are coming down to the final weeks of the semester, so keep working hard, keep pushing, and we will see you all on that graduation stage come May 12th. I thank you all so much for listening. This was a Dumpster Fire, and you were all warned.